Well, I was excited to tune in to the Be the Man podcast with Ric Flair and Conrad Thompson this week to hear if Flair had anything else to say about Eric Bischoff and Eric Bischoff's response to Ric Flair. And not only did we get a response from Ric Flair about Eric Bischoff, but we got full nuclear Ric Flair. He fucking just buries the world in this podcast. He goes hard. He was on one this time. He had a fucking hair up his ass, and he was pissy, and he was ready to go. Check out these clips.
I'm not ashamed to admit it. I cracked when he walked into WWE TV. I almost shit. I did. I thought, oh my God, this can't be happening again.
Right.
But Vince finds a way to make money with everybody, and he went out the door. I've been put in a lot of positions. Fucking horrible. Buried in the desert and everything else. I've never been put in a fucking garbage truck and dumped in a fucking garbage can. That'll be his legacy.
What do you make of this moment of candor from Jim Ross about Johnny Ace?
Well, gosh, I know them both about the same. And once again, I know it all. So Jim Ross lost every bit of credibility with me in life, in spite of calling me the greatest wrestler of all time, or whatever, his induction and all the bullshit, when he jumped on the dark side of wrestling. Because all he is starving for and leaning on life is to be relevant, because he ain't. So I can forgive Jim Ross for dark side of wrestling, which I have, because there's nothing worth it. But I don't appreciate it. And Jerry Lawler texted me. I don't know how many people said, "What the fuck did Ross mean? We got to know when to walk away from Ric Flair." Huh? Well, the WWE learned when to walk away from Jim Ross. I'm going to the 30th edition, 30th reunion. You think he is?
I'm glad I listened all the way to the end on this one, because it was right at the very end when Conrad was like literally trying to wrap things up that he went hard on Jim Ross, and my jaw literally dropped. I was listening. I was sitting at my desk at work, and that was it. Like, I was literally like about to shut it off because there were minutes left. It was just, okay, we're going to wrap things up now, and this is what we're going to do next week, and whatever. They were close to the end, and Flair just fucking, boom, just dropped that bomb on Jim Ross. First of all, his response to Eric Bischoff, this is just going to keep going. Bischoff ain't going to be quiet about this. We know Eric Bischoff. He's not going to be the better man. He's not going to take the high road. He is not going to, when we tune in to 83 weeks next week, Eric Bischoff is not going to get through that episode without responding again to Ric Flair. And it was 83 weeks. I did a clip earlier. If you're not listening to the full show, I encourage you to go check out the clip I did about this week's 83 weeks episode with Bischoff. Because Bischoff he went hard on Flair. He went on a particular rant, and it pissed off Conrad. And Conrad got heated with Eric, and it was a pretty hot conversation to start the show there. So I highly recommend checking that out. But Bischoff ain't gonna let this shit go. He's just, it's not how it is. It's not how he rolls. So I would expect to see this to keep going back and forth. Look, I want to see those two face to face. I want to see them I want to see a podcast with them two, and just Conrad can mediate, moderate, whatever you want to call it, referee the shit, and just let those two go at it. Point, counterpoint, point, counterpoint, let them go. I think it'd be good TV. I'm not a big drama guy, and I don't like when wrestlers just talk shit about people. And, I typically don't like it, but it does make for entertaining, TV for a little while anyway, entertaining viewership. And Ric Flair, man, this has been one of my main criticisms about Ric Flair for quite a while. Is this fucking, and if you go back, I believe it was my most viewed clip ever of all time ever with Ric Flair when he split off from Mark Madden. Remember, he was doing the podcast with Mark Madden before Conrad. And, he basically ditched him and publicly humiliated him. And Rick came off as very bitter it seems, and it saddens my heart because I like Ric Flair. I respect Ric Flair. As a wrestling fan, you can't not respect Ric Flair. But when you see him, like, he's constantly like, and especially after his near death, you would think that he would find peace in his heart and just learn to let things go, but he holds on to everything. Everything offends him. Everything's a personal shot. Last week, he got pissy at Arn because Arn said that the fucking, whatever, I forgot the name of it, but whatever the gimmick was where Flair was under the mask, under the hood there, and Arn had said that he thought it was a stupid gimmick or a terrible gimmick, and that offended Flair. Like, nothing I do is stupid. Nothing I do sucks. Something like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and he said it a couple times. Like, it really kind of crawled under his skin a little bit. And now he's sitting here, he's just fucking burning bridges all around him. And he's trying to rope Conrad in with it too, because he'll ask Conrad, he'll be like, what did Bischoff ever do? Did he do this? Huh? You tell me. Or he was doing that with Ross. He's just like, well, I'm invited to WWE's 30th anniversary or whatever. Do you think you think Jim Ross is going to be invited? Huh? No, because nobody likes him. That kind of shit, like, and especially with Jim Ross, like, I was just so shocked he went hard on Jim Ross like that. Like, that was brutal. And look, Ross said some things on that Dark Side of the Ring documentary, but Conrad was quick to point out that Jim Ross was upset by the Dark Side of the Ring documentary. He thought it was taken out of context or creatively edited to sound different than he said. Obviously, he said the words, but if they're taken out of context or rearranged or whatever, it can create a different, context of what he's saying there. But I mean, the words he said were the words he said, and they were still pretty stiff to Flair. But look, man, a lot of those stories are true. Like, you can't. Now, the stewardess was on Dark Side of the Ring saying, and I know I'm all over the pool. I'm just going to yak until we get through this here. So bear with me, or fuck off if you want. I don't care. But the stewardess is saying that Flair wanted to touch his, forced the lady to touch his little Flair there, the little Flair gimmick there. Little Nate. But he, I don't know if he did that, but he's very well known for walking around just exposing himself to everybody. And that's sexual assault in itself. If you expose yourself to a woman, dude, that's like... So, I mean, he at the very least showed his dick to this chick. At the very least, he did. He did. Can't deny that. So when Jim Ross is on this documentary, he's got to tell the truth. He's not going to cover for Flair. He's not going to be one of the boys. And Flair was doing this whole thing, I know everything, on this podcast. He's like, and, he said the same thing about Jericho, because then he roped Jericho in with it. I told you he buried everybody on this. He roped Jericho in with this because Jericho was the host of the Dark Side of the Ring episode. And he was like, you're telling me that Jericho didn't know about this? He's like, I know a lot about Jericho, too. He's just like, these guys are lucky that I'm not the same type of man that they are, because I know everything. And it's like, fuck you, dude. Like, and I'm sure some of you listening are like, yeah, Ric Flair's the man, bury everybody, fuck all these guys. But like, I hate that attitude. It's negative. It's a negative attitude. He's got such a bitter, horrible outlook on the world. And look, I'm not the most positive guy in the world. I can be a dick. I can be grumpy. I can be, bitch and rant and complain about people on here all the time. But I try to be fair and I try to be balanced. I try to put shit over where shit needs to get put over. And I don't just rag on shit for the sake of ragging on shit to get clicks and views and shit. You know what I mean? I make my point the way I see it. I call it like I see it, good, bad, or indifferent. And I just don't like people that live in that world of negativity where you feel the need to bury everybody, literally everybody. I'm sure Rick would bury Conrad if Conrad disagreed with him. He kept trying to get Conrad to agree with him. And then he even tried to do the thing like he tried to rope Conrad's wife in with this, which is Flair's daughter, saying that, because Bischoff is on record saying he's, him and his wife have a good relationship with Conrad and his wife, and, that they hang out a lot. Maybe they're swingers. I don't fucking know. But, Flair's like, well, I talked to Megan and she said no. She laughed about it. Come on, Dad. Yeah, right. And then he's like, right, Conrad? When's the last time Eric's been to your house? You know what I mean? And it's like, why are you trying to quit trying to stir shit up? Quit trying to turn Conrad against the other people he's in business with, both Jim Ross and Eric Bischoff. There's no response that I was able to gather. Again, like I said, I'm recording earlier in the week. This week I said it at the in the intro of the full show, not the clip here, but I am recording early. I did listen to a good part of Jim Ross's podcast this week so far. Doesn't look like there's any response to this. I'm assuming it was recorded before Flair's podcast made the air. So it'll probably be on next week's. We'll get to hear a response from Ross. Ross did double down on his John Laurinaitis comments this week, though. So he stands by those. Just so many people shit talking each other. God damn, but Flair is on one. Flair, and that was like the name of the podcast. They just titled it Flair's Shit List. And it was just his absolute just burial of everybody. But I was so shocked that he went hard on Jim Ross. And like, there's a kernel of a point, a kernel of a truth for Ric Flair. I see where he's coming from. I just think like his words were so harsh. You've lost all credibility with me. WWE doesn't want you there, God damn, you know what I mean? That's so harsh. That's harsh to say things like that. And Flair tries to pull other people into it and do the whole, WWE doesn't want you there either. They like me, they don't like you. And then he laughs about it and giggles and he's just like, it was a terrible... He didn't quite laugh like that, but I mean, he was gleefully just shitting on everyone. And a man that's kicked out at fucking 2 3/4, you know what I mean, from his deathbed, to have this second chance at life and just squander it and maybe squander's not the right word. He's having fun. He's got side hustles. He's out there doing his thing, but I feel like he's just... Man, he's going to be laying on his deathbed again one day feeling so sorry about all the people that he talks shit about or all the bridges that he burnt or, I'm sure on his final deathbed or even when he passes and he looks back, does the whole reflecting on your life thing. I got to imagine he's going to feel really bad about not, trying to... But not just letting shit go and trying to salvage friendships with these people and relationships and just, let the small shit go. But it is what it is. Petty Ric Flair to the bitter end is that's how I see it anyway. That's how I'm calling it. Petty Ric Flair, even though he has points and everything that he's saying, I think, to just totally destroy people like that and cut them down to nothing and dismiss them and write them off. And I feel like that's a bad approach. But Hey, that's just me. That's just my thoughts. This is an absolute must listen. You have to listen to this episode of this podcast if you're into this kind of shit anyway, because it's fun, it's awkward, it's cringy, it's exciting, it's funny. Flair, he just spends a lot of it on Bischoff and then just goes into a couple other people, and it's like, wow, man, just scorched earth, nuclear bomb, Ric Flair shitting on everybody, and put Conrad in a tough spot too. Conrad was pretty uncomfortable the whole time. You could tell he was having a hard time trying to navigate this because Rick kept trying to get Conrad to reassure him and be on his side about everything, and it was awkward, but it was a fun listen. Highly encourage it. We'll put the link down in the description below, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and on to the next. Woo!
Oh yeah, thanks for checking out the video. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like it if you liked it. Yeah, and you can check out full episodes each and every Sunday right here on the channel. Oh yeah, dig it.